At the bottom of the world lies a continent carved by wind, crushed by endless ice, and sealed from human eyes for almost all of recorded history. Antarctica, a place where the cold is so absolute it turns metal brittle, where winter swallows the horizon for months at a time, and where storms build walls of white that erase the sky. Yet beneath this silence, something waits. Across centuries, explorers brought back stories that never fit the maps. Mountain peaks too symmetrical to be natural. Shadows under the ice the size of cities. Strange metallic echoes beneath Lake Vostok, where life should not exist at all. And from orbit, satellites still return images that fuel arguments among scientists, historians, and those who suspect the truth runs deeper than research stations and drifting ice shelves. Tonight, we pull a thread through myth, science, secrecy, and the unexplained. Because Antarctica is not empty. It is layered, like a palimpsest of forgotten worlds. And if you wish to keep uncovering the silent secrets our world tries to bury, subscribe, share, and stay with us. They say the oldest stories cling to the cold, and long before Antarctica was a blank space on a map, sailors whispered about a land at the bottom of the world, a place where the horizon bent strangely, where the winds carried a low hum that felt almost alive. Some called it Terra Australis Incognita, others simply the White Edge. Centuries before European vessels reached the icy latitudes, Polynesian navigators spoke of a far south mass wrapped in storms, a place where the sea turned glassy and silent without warning. A second-century Roman text, long dismissed as fantasy, mentions a continent beyond the roaring winds, warmed by forces below. Even then, something about the region didn't behave like the rest of the world. Its magnetic pull skewed compasses. Its storms rose in minutes. Its calm felt too perfect, too watchful. When early explorers finally arrived in the 1800s, they carried these myths with them, and some accounts fueled them further. A British sealing crew once reported a chain of peaks that formed triangles too precise to be nature's hand. A French expedition described a cliff of dark stone, polished like obsidian, half buried in snow. Most of these notes were buried or ignored, chalked up to fatigue, frostbite, or failing instruments. But the strange consistency of these sightings, spread across oceans, cultures, and centuries, never fully faded. Modern science later confirmed something extraordinary. Ice cores show that Antarctica was not always frozen. Millions of years ago, it was forested, wet, green, alive. And beneath those ancient roots, the land itself is shaped by powerful geological forces. Subglacial mountain ranges rise like the spines of sleeping beasts. Hidden valleys cut through the earth with unnatural symmetry. These formations challenge our sense of time, hinting at epochs when the world looked nothing like the fragile map we cling to today. One of the most haunting discoveries came from the Gamburtsev Mountains, an entire mountain range the size of the Alps, completely buried under 2 kilometers of ice. The radar scans that revealed it stunned the scientific community. Peaks, valleys, ridges, all perfectly intact, untouched by wind or weather for millions of years. The scans looked like a ghost of another world frozen mid-breath, and somewhere in that preserved silence, Some believe traces of something older might still exist. Not a civilization as we imagine it, perhaps, but remnants of intelligence, structures shaped with intention, or technologies swallowed by the ice long before humanity left its first stone tools. Would any of it have survived the crush of time, or does the ice protect more than it destroys? As we move from myth into the realm of skepticism and scientific scrutiny, the path ahead grows sharper, colder, and far more contested. Antarctica has a way of stripping illusions from those who arrive certain of the truth. And when the age of exploration gave way to the age of science, researchers marched south with a mission: separate legend from reality. They came with ground drills, seismic sensors, and an unshakable belief that every mystery had a rational explanation. But the ice did not bend so easily. Officially, geologists were confident. The continent was stable, predictable. Its ridges were ancient fault lines. Its shadows were tricks of radar. Its perfect geometric patterns, seen from satellites scanning Queen Maud Land, were labeled compression artifacts, the digital equivalent of a smudge on glass. Scientists rejected any talk of lost structures or unknown forces. And yet, the deeper they probed, the stranger the refusals became. Flight paths were restricted without warning. Entire valleys were suddenly declared off-limits due to environmental concerns. In a place with more square miles than the United States and fewer than 1,000 residents, why close off the places nobody visits? Then came Operation High Jump. In 1946, Admiral Richard Byrd led one of the largest expeditions in Antarctic history. 13 ships, thousands of men, and aircraft designed to survey the entire coast. Publicly, it was a research mission. Privately, some believed it was a race for whatever lay beneath the ice. Just months into the operation, crews reported unusual aerial encounters. Bright lights moving against the wind, metallic reflections skimming the edge of storms. Byrd himself spoke of objects that moved at incredible speed, a quote swiftly buried in archives and later dismissed as misinterpretation. High Jump ended abruptly. Casualties were recorded, documents sealed. The expedition that was meant to last 6 months returned after barely 8 weeks. Would any mission collapse so quickly without a force greater than weather behind it? Skeptics argue the answer is obvious. Antarctica is lethal. Winds can shear metal. Ice can swallow vehicles whole. Whiteouts can erase an entire fleet's sense of direction. And perhaps they're right. But buried beneath the explanations lies a pattern. Every time a discovery edges close to something uncomfortable, the door slams shut. Modern researchers feel the same pressure. A glaciologist stationed near Dome Sea once claimed his seismic readings detected hollow anomalies, long vertical shafts carved deep into the earth. His report never reached publication. A year later, he stopped speaking about it entirely. Science is meant to illuminate, but here, in the coldest place on Earth, the light feels controlled. And what it fails to reveal, it often hides more carefully than myth ever did. As we move closer to the evidence itself, unchallenged, unfiltered, the ice begins to tell its own story. In the last 2 decades, technology has grown sharp enough to cut through Antarctica's silence. Satellites pierce the storms, radar maps sculpt the invisible. Submersible drones roam waters untouched for millions of years. And with each new layer peeled back, the continent reveals fragments of a truth no longer easy to dismiss. It began with ground-penetrating radar scans in East Antarctica. Teams from Germany and Japan detected a pattern beneath the ice, a ridge stretching nearly 30 kilometers, perfectly straight, bordered by angles that repeated with mathematical precision. Nature favors chaos. This looked engineered. Officials labeled it glacial deformation, but the scientists who captured the data later admitted, anonymously, that they had never seen anything like it. Next came Lake Vostok, one of Earth's largest subglacial lakes, sealed under nearly 4 kilometers of ice. When Russian researchers lowered sensor probes, they expected silence. Instead, the lake responded with repeating pulses, seismic rhythms spaced too evenly to be random. A simple scientific definition explains it. A repeating seismic pulse is a low-frequency vibration that behaves like a heartbeat in the landscape. Something beneath the lake was creating order in a place ruled by disorder. Around the raw sea, autonomous underwater vehicles reported flashes of metallic reflection from the seabed. Not smooth like rock, but ridged, segmented, almost machined. Engineers dismissed the readings as sonar anomalies. But the footage captured by a New Zealand drone tells a different story. Arched formations buried in silt, each measuring dozens of meters, each shaped with curves no glacier would carve. And then there were the tunnels. 3 separate expeditions from Argentina, Norway, and the United States reported colossal arcs hollowed beneath the ice shelf. Perfect inner walls, smooth as glass. Scientists claimed they were melt channels created by geothermal heat. But melt channels do not branch symmetrically, they do not spiral, and they do not stretch for kilometers in identical patterns. Would anything human survive the weight of 2 miles of ice pressing from above? One discovery stands above the rest. Near Princess Elizabeth Land, a radar satellite returned an image of what appears to be a triangular anomaly, buried so deeply that only long-wave radar could touch it. The object sits at an unnatural angle. Its edges are straight. Its interior reflects like metal. Researchers who analyzed the data privately admitted the geometry was consistent with a manufactured structure. No official comment followed. What lies beneath Antarctica is becoming harder to explain away, and far harder to ignore. And now we face the question no one wants to answer. What happens when the ice melts? The world is warming, and while Antarctica remains a fortress of snow and stone, cracks are forming, literally and politically. As the ice retreats, it exposes fragments of a landscape the modern world has never seen. Valleys thaw. Caverns breathe for the first time in tens of thousands of years. And secrets once sealed beneath 4 kilometers of frozen silence edge toward daylight. Climate science tells us a simple truth. When ice melts, whatever it preserved returns unchanged. Bones, artifacts, structures, even bacteria older than human civilization. And in Antarctica, the rate of exposure accelerates each year. Researchers stationed along the Amundsen Sea coast have already uncovered ancient plant material, insects frozen mid-movement, and minerals that do not match the continent's known geology. These are small revelations, but they hint at something larger coming. Nations know it. That's why competition grows fiercer each year. China expands its bases. Russia deepens its drilling operations. The United States enhances satellite coverage. Even smaller countries claim slices of ice with no population, no industry, no apparent value. At least, not yet. The question is no longer whether Antarctica hides something. It's whether the world is prepared for what happens when those hidden things surface. Imagine if the triangular anomaly beneath Princess Elizabeth Land emerges from the thaw, its metal intact, its purpose undeniable. Imagine if the seismic pulses under Lake Vostok resolve into a pattern we recognize not as geological, but intentional. Imagine if the tunnels spiraling beneath the ice reveal not just heat, but architecture. Would humanity accept a past far older and far stranger than our history books allow? Yet mystery is not the only threat. As ice sheets collapse, sea levels rise. Coastal cities brace for a future shaped by forces they cannot control. And beneath the chaos lies an even quieter danger. Organisms waking from deep freeze. Microbes that survived epochs. Life adapted to darkness, pressure, and isolation. Life with no connection to our immune systems. The frozen future is not just about discovery. It's about survival. Antarctica stands at the crossroads of ancient secrets and modern reckoning. And whether its revelations frighten us, empower us, or redefine us, they are coming. The ice is shifting. The silence is thinning. And the continent at the edge of the world is preparing to speak. The secrets of Antarctica are far from revealed, and the journey has only just begun. Subscribe to Silent Secrets to uncover what the world hides, and like this video to dive deeper into mysteries yet untold. The frozen continent waits. Will you answer its call?